So I was just watching the latest video by The Pedantic Romantic, and there was a random throwaway line in the script that kind of stuck out to me, which is where he was making a comparison between Hibike Euphonium and some other new show that I don't know anything about, and that by all accounts looked like it was probably stupid, and that's kind of the point he was making in his video. And he said the line, comparing it to Hibike Euphonium may not be fair. And it stuck out to me because I thought, well, of course it's fair, because both shows are trying to do the same thing, essentially. I think most anime shows are trying to do the same thing, essentially. And it's funny because people will often say that it's not fair to compare stuff that's in different genres or different levels of quality. I mean, when you look at Euphonium next to, like, an average, Moe Blob show, which is what that show looked like, sure, it seems like you're taking a tank to a knife fight or something. But Hibike Euphonium, as has been stressed again and again, with so many different anime studios talking about stuff like this, is not a exponentially higher budget show. It's got a normal budget, it's got a normal amount of staff, it's a normal show. Just so happens that the people working on it are giving it their all, and they're really talented, and they really know how to bring that show to life. And as a result, the show will probably be somewhat successful. I assume it has been. It got a second season and a movie. But the intentions of the show, ultimately, are probably very similar to that other one. Both of them cost about the same amount to make, and their goal is to make a lot of money. To at least make back their budget, and then to make more money than that. And I think it's funny when we look at these different shows, where we'll look at a show and say, well, that show's just popcorn entertainment. It's not meant to be taken seriously the same way another show is, right? But they're all trying to make the same amount of money. They all want you to spend the same amount of money. If you go buy the Blu-rays for Hibike Euphonium, they're going to cost the same amount as the Blu-rays for this other show. Something that's totally mind-numbing and stupid. Now, the thing is that you can make a great show that is a mindless action show or something, or a mindless moe show. Like, I love Strike Witches, personally. Strike Witches does not have much depth of character. It does not have much, it's just an action show with a bunch of cute girls, but it's just really well directed and put together. It's got great music, great animation, well, okay animation. It's got really hype moments is the main thing about it. It's not particularly deep or interesting, but I would be willing to spend money on it because I like the show, Even if it's in a different category from something like Euphonium, I don't, even though Euphonium has, super great characterization and writing, I'm not that into that show in the way that I am with Strike Witches. As far as I'm concerned, aside from the aesthetic difference, the different feel of the show, the way that one is a dumb action show and one is a deep, involving show, I feel the same way about both, and I'd be willing to spend the same amount of money on both. Whereas a more generic show that's trying to do something like Strike Witches but not pulling it off doesn't deserve my money necessarily. And I was thinking about this the other day because of the fact that I was describing to Devu during us recording an upcoming commentary video for my patrons. I was talking about DVD prices and how it was really fucking weird when Pony Canyon started releasing DVDs in the US because they were charging, or Blu-rays or whatever, they're charging ridiculous prices compared to other companies. Not ridiculous because they're too high priced, but because of what shows they were charging for. Because Aniplex, they have infamously released Blu-rays that are super expensive, right? But the shows they're releasing are like Madoka Magica, Kill La Kill, Sword Art Online, shows that people really care about, that people will spend a crazy amount of money on, because these are someone's favorite show. These are shows that if you've seen it, or you're a fan, you probably care more than anything else. And so yes, you might be willing to spend a little bit more. Kind of like how I bought all the special edition Haruhi DVDs back in the day. Like back when Bandai released every Haruhi DVD with like a crazy fucking box set thing with all this extra shit. I bought all of those because Haruhi was the kind of show that you could imagine doing that for. It was like a phenomenon. It was a show that people like me cared about very deeply. Pony Canyon was doing this kind of release with Denki Guy. Denki Guy is a show that no one cared about, no one watched it, and those who did, it's not like anything special. It's no one's favorite anime. You know, I like Denki Guy probably more than most people, and I would give it like an 8. It's not a show I'm like head over heels for, that I'm gonna spend hundreds of dollars to buy these super because they only released it in like the special editions. Like there is no cheap version of Denki Guy. There is no 13 episodes for $40, which is what I probably would be willing to pay for the show. It's like $60 discs that come with all this extra shit, and there's 3 of them. There's no way I'm spending that on Denki Guy, you know? But it got me thinking about how for the companies, they need the same amount. You know, they need the same amount of money from whatever the show is, because they're spending the same amount on it. You know, they need the same amount back. So it's just funny that a show like Denki Guy even exists. Like, it's funny to me that all these companies are like trying to create a show that you will buy, but they don't seem to know how, you know? And it's like this struggle to look at what other people are doing and say, how can we do what they're doing? But then what they're doing has more of a creative spark behind it, and they're just better at doing it, and you shouldn't have tried, you know? Like when we get all these light novel knockoffs that are just trying to be the next, you know, whatever. And when something happens like Infinite Stratos selling 1 million or whatever's, you know, that it's like, well, shit, maybe you can just get away with bullshit, you know, but then it doesn't work every other time they try to do it. And it's just really funny to me because, you know, I could see people saying, well, it's not fair to compare, Hibike Euphonium to Infinite Stratos, but they spent the same amount of money making both, and they had the same intentions with what they wanted you to spend on the show. So yeah, I do think anime is all kind of in competition with one another. Like, they're all trying to be the show that you'll spend all your money on, and no one's buying every show. No one's spending the same amount on every show. I had this sort of methodology that Devu introduced me to years ago, where he had said, and, you know, the numbers are flexible on this, but he was like, yeah, I think you should spend $100 on a 10 out of 10 show, $60 on a 9 out of 10, 50 on, or going down the scale like that. And I thought that was a really funny and kind of genius way of looking at it. Like, yeah, I want to, you know, give more to my favorites. Like, I feel more drive to spend money on it, and I want to support those creators even more. Whereas a show like a Denki Guy, like, you know, I'll throw $30 at. Like, I bought a No Game No Life t-shirt once, you know? That's $30. That's all I'm ever going to spend on No Game No Life. You know, I don't care about the show enough to waste all my money on it. But they want me to. They made the show hoping that it would get me to spend all my money on it. Hoping I would like Shiro enough to buy that $150 figure that you all know what I'm talking about if you know anything about figures, because it's like the most famous one of the last 5 years probably. Like, you know, they want that to happen, and that's what they're going for. So it is fair to compare them. It's fair to compare all the anime. Now, it might not be fair to compare to, like, a 5-minute ONA that definitely is not trying to sell all these copies. It definitely doesn't have the same budget. And it also might not be fair to compare it to, like, Ghost in the Shell or Ergo Proxy, which were, like, pay-per-view shows that make their money on TV, or Noitamina shows that used to, at least, be all about ratings, you know. Maybe it's less fair to compare those. Not that, like, I mean, Ghost in the Shell did have, like, an exceptional budget compared to, like, the average TV anime, I think. That's what I've heard. I don't even know if that's actually true. But, you know, I just think, yeah, it is fair to compare them all. Anime is all a contest. They all want your money. You gotta choose the winner.